Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our community who are involved in activities designed to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission and your host. The Commission is a city board that seeks to promote equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guests today are Terry Berg, who is president of the board emerita of the Chrysalis House, and Jamie Kaiser, who is the current vice president of the board of directors of that organization. Terry and Jamie, welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. Well, what is the mission of Chrysalis House?
Chrysalis House was founded 30 years ago to serve addicted and alcoholic women who were pregnant. That is still our mission. The mission is to help these women and their children live healthy, safe lives and a life in recovery. Okay. That's primarily our mission.
All right. And actually that's very good because some organizations have long mission statements and that no one remembers, but yours is very concise and right to the point. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you in turn. I'm going to ask each of you this question. How did you get involved with Chrysalis House and why did you get involved with it? And Terry, I'm going to let you start.
Long ago and far away, I met the then executive director of Chrysalis House at a training session on empowering women, something we were both very interested in. And she invited me to visit Chrysalis House. She invited me to do some training with her staff. And then I volunteered with Chrysalis House. I did a cooking class with the ladies, and then she invited me to be on the board. So I've been on the board for 6 years. So I've been affiliated with Chrysalis House for 12 years. I'm interested in women and especially children. So this was a very wonderful opportunity to work in that field in a volunteer capacity.
Okay. Jamie, how about you? Why did you get involved with Chrysalis House?
How I got involved, actually my Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Annapolis, our foundation, made a donation to Chrysalis House after the flood. We had a huge flood, and Terry was president of the board at the time and came to our club meeting and talked a little bit about the house, and it piqued my interest. I was very interested, so we met. I learned more about Chrysalis House and decided to join the board.
Okay.
And love it.
Okay. Well, you said the organization's been here for 30 years. That's a long, long, long tenure. Could you give our viewers a sense of a little bit about some of the highlights of the history over that period of time? Some of the real landmarks over the period of time in terms of things that the organization has gotten involved with or done.
Well, when the organization began, there was a group of maybe 4 or 5 women, lawyers, social workers, employees in the health department, and they saw this need, so they managed to get assistance and buy a house in Pasadena in Anne Arundel County. And in that house, they arranged it so that they could accommodate up to 10 pregnant women. We were in that house for about 10 years, and clearly there was a need. So they looked for a property to enlarge and move to Crownsville, which is the current site of Chrysalis House. Currently, the house was built in 1995. Lorene Lake had been the executive director for 21 years. When she started, they were in the little house in Pasadena. And it grew very rapidly. There is continuing to be a high demand for these services, and we were and still are pretty unique in that the women can have their children with them. And if you ever want to see a motivation for getting healthy, it is having children, wanting your child to be born healthy, wanting your child to live in a safe environment. So we've done that for 30 years. About 10 years ago, we were invited to open a facility in Baltimore City. Our clients in Baltimore City come directly through the judicial system. Many of our clients come through the judicial system. The women in our program in Baltimore City are adjudicated. They have a choice to serve their sentence in jail, and they are pregnant, or to come to Chrysalis House, Healthy Start, as it's called in Baltimore. The program there is for a year, and we can accommodate there 16 women and 16 children. Our home in Crownsville can accommodate 35 women and 15 children. The children have to be under the age of 11, unless there's special circumstances. But it's always a joy to visit because we always have babies and toddlers. It's a joy, and it's a joy to see women growing in their capacity. In the last few years, as the crisis has continued and new programs have come along, we have begun an intensive outpatient program. Certainly in the field, it is well known that you can't just put somebody through a little bit, and lots of programs now are 28 days. Well, you can barely get over a hangnail for that. So you need continuing support. So intensive outpatient treatment is just what it says. Clients, our former clients come, clients who are not from our programs come to the intensive outpatient. And then most recently, we have also gone into transitional housing. In Anne Arundel County, we have currently, I think, 4 transitional houses for women who are back on their feet, managing the community. So that's kind of what's happened over the years.
All right, we're going to have a video now about Chrysalis House. And after the video, I will be talking with Terry and Jamie in greater detail about the organization.
Opiate dependencies kept me stuck for so many years because of my emotional and mental pain.
It started off with Percocets, and then I ended up shooting heroin.
I was strung out on crack cocaine. I began to shoot heroin at the end of my addiction, and I got locked up.
I came to Chrysalis House in August of 2001 in shackles. I was addicted to opiates. I was addicted to crack cocaine. That was my life. I felt that I was going to die.
I'd used for 7.5 years. I became a heroin addict. I had lost both of my children to CPS.
So I had somebody come up to me and say, look, you can buy heroin. So I started doing heroin. I sniffed it for about a year, and then I started shooting it. So I've been shooting for 4 years.
I had no hope. I had lost all relationships with my family. I had lost relationships with my daughter.
In the state of Maryland, there clearly is a heroin epidemic. It's maybe started with painkillers that were given, and then when no longer painkillers were available, that certain individuals were looking for something to substitute for it. It's a very real problem. We're looking for solutions.
We're one of the few facilities that allow women to have their children here in our facility. So we would like to learn more about what is the impact of having the children here at our facility with their mothers, and can we do more for them?
Women shied away from treatment, either alcohol or drug dependence, because they were worried about the impact of someone knowing about their addiction. Would the state come in and take their children away?
When I lost my children to CPS, I knew nothing about Chrysalis House. I knew nothing about treatment center that allowed you to take your children with you. You know, when I came to Chrysalis House and I watched how the mothers had their children and how the staff interacted and helped them learn the parenting skills and life skills that they needed.
I, for a long time, have been a believer that we're just now stepping out of the dark ages of treatment when it comes to, treatment for addictions in terms of what science knows about the disease of addiction and what works for treatment and what doesn't.
We talk about this being a disease, and it is, but the stigma still remains, and we're trying to change the language of how we talk about addictions.
What's unique about Chrysalis House is that we love. When the ladies come through the door, the first thing we promise them is that we're going to love you until you learn to love yourself. And I'm talking from experience. When I came in Chrysalis House, I didn't know what love was. But Chrysalis House wrapped these women up. They make them feel good about them. They tell them that what they've done in the past does not dictate their future.
And I believe that this place is still standing because of the compassion that all the staff has.
The staff is really caring. They really care. The whole, it's not many places you come and they're actually so involved like the staff is, and they know where we've came from, and they don't treat us any different.
So what Chrysalis House did, came up with, okay, we want to do continuing care. So what we do, we have supportive housing for women and children. We have supportive housing for single women, which give them an opportunity to get more treatment and safe housing. And, we have served at IOP over 180 women, and out of those 180 women, we have 75% of them that are still sober.
When I got here, I was just so grateful that I was finally getting the help that I need, because I struggled with addiction for almost 30 years.
Some of the challenges that we have are the fundraising and the court systems that are seeing the need to place our people with this issue of alcohol addiction or drug addiction out in facilities such as ours.
When you contribute to Chrysalis House, you really are not just making a contribution, you're making a difference. And you can see the benefits and the results of that contribution tangibly.
I think that this issue is better helped in facilities like ours rather than in prisons, because the recidivism rate in prisons is much higher, and we provide a much better environment for their recovery.
In terms of larger philanthropy, we want to have as many partners who recognize the need for addiction treatment. We're really looking for people who have an interest in this issue to come to us, see Chrysalis House here in Crownsville, understand the issue and how they might help.
It gave me a foundation to be safe at, to always know that there's people there for you. And it's great that it gives you an opportunity to be independent. You still have your structure, and you can still go out job seeking and actually start to live your life.
When I was at Chrysalis House, I became a manager of a store, and I never thought that society would give me an opportunity because of my drug use. I had been using for over 10 years, and somebody gave me an opportunity. So Chrysalis House saved my life.
The butterfly is the logo of the Chrysalis House, and that whole concept of transformation and change is what we try to replicate for the women who come into the program. At that point, that caterpillar doesn't know what's on the other side. It only knows that it's supposed to weave a cocoon. And while it's in that cocoon, that's when the transformation takes place. Chrysalis House is that cocoon.
Yeah, I am talking today with Terry Berg and Jamie Kaiser of the Chrysalis House. What are some of the issues that surround substance abuse treatment for pregnant and parenting women?
Many of our women have had difficult lives. Most of them have been abused physically, mentally, sexually, and it is very difficult for them to transition to what you and I might think of as a normal life. You've heard the stories in the video. You've heard and seen that it can happen, but it takes enormous courage. And it takes real supportive counseling, which is what we provide. Many of our clients actually are suffering from PTSD. They first have to learn to love themselves. And for all of us, there are things in our lives that we think, oh, well, wish I hadn't, or oh, I must have been a bad person. For our clients, this is a big step, to come to the realization that they have talent, strength, skills, that they have something to contribute to community, and having their children with them gives great motivation to say, as all of us who are parents do, this is what I want for my child. So
I think one of the other things that we're really starting to see now is there are a number of issues that they're dealing with, not only in addiction, but as Terry said, maybe some mental health, some PSTD. The other thing too is that it's not just women primarily who have had challenging upbringings and backgrounds. This time that we're living in now, and this disease and these addictions are hitting everyone. Families who have never been touched by these kinds of issues before. It's because it's so accessible. So I think that's a big change that we're seeing.
Yeah.
and in terms, if I may, in terms of treatment, 30 years ago, when we were founded, the average stay of a client was a year. So as the term chrysalis means, it is that early stage of becoming a butterfly. And it is a cocoon. So these women were in a safe, loving environment. And that too helps to bolster and give someone the courage to overcome addiction and to learn how to avoid the triggers that bring on the addiction, how to do anger management, how to focus. All those are part of the intensive counseling that we do. In addition, we provide life skills training and parenting training and fun, just plain, clean, fun activities.
Yeah. What's a typical day like at the Chrysalis House?
Is there such a thing?
There is no such thing. No, every day is just, because I think too, when you're in a residential setting like that, and you have people coming into the program and people leaving, so there's constantly change going on, and as well as with the children, some people, they're dealing with a wide range of issues, and like all of us human beings, you've got good days and bad days. Some days you make 2 steps forward and 5 steps back.
For the women, the day would begin with rising up early in the morning, feeding their children breakfast, and then the children go off to our daycare center. The mothers go off to their counseling sessions. So they will usually have individual session during the day and a group session during the day. They will have an activity in life skills during the day. There may be an activity in parenting skills. So their day is full of treatment-related activities. The children's day is full of playtime, learning time, time with mom, outdoor time. So there is a daily program, but as Jamie said, anything can happen. There may be a new client coming in, and we have a special protocol for that, and orientation for that program. Our women are on medication, so there is medication times throughout the day where they report for that, and sometimes we have to take our women, this is a major issue, transportation, we have to take our women to methadone clinics. So it's a pretty tight, full day.
As you referenced in an earlier remark, Jamie, the heroin epidemic is expanding its grip in the United States. Heroin use, which I think largely stems from addiction to opioid prescription drugs, has jumped fivefold in the last 10 years. And certainly that national pattern has been seen here in Anne Arundel County. It seems that almost a day can't go by without a story in our local newspaper, The Capital, about it, about something related to abuse of either these prescription drugs or ultimately heroin, which has become a serious problem now because it has become dirt cheap, literally, and people can get access to it much more easily than they did in the past, and it's become literally a health crisis. I would presume that the Chrysalis House has felt the impact on this. Could you elaborate on that in terms of the relationship between what we see as this spreading drug problem and the work that you're doing in the Chrysalis House?
Can I speak to it?
Sure. Well, we have the demand for our services is higher. Yeah. That's for sure. And accommodating to more and more people who can stay less and less time under the insurance programs, as Jamie said, you get such a turnover. And so in terms of the counseling sessions that you're going to do with a woman there, it is intense. You do have to accommodate to the most serious of that woman's issues. So it takes continual training for our staff, because trauma-informed counseling, as it's called, is a layer of counseling that more and more medical professionals, and especially mental health professionals, are having to learn more and more about. So we're accommodating that, so we have our own people in training. We, like every other provider of what we do, is constantly looking for well-trained staff. I can tell you, people are in high demand. So if somebody's looking for a new career, it's a good one. But there's no two ways about it. The work is very demanding. On the other hand, because of the opioid crisis, more and more people, the public is understanding this is a disease. It is a substance abuse disorder. The stigma is still there, and it's very difficult to fight that stigma. To say, okay, here's a woman that we can help, there are things we can do. But the understanding of the disease is increasing because of that. And as Jamie said, it's across all backgrounds of people.
Well, and the city of Annapolis is not unique in that way. I mean, I know just myself, in the last month, I've heard of several deaths, heroin overdosing here in the city. And I think that now that the awareness is coming around, we're getting more and more coverage about it, and people are talking about it, which, to Terry's point, will kind of reduce the stigma against it. But I think the bottom line with why it's becoming a crisis too, I think any form of addiction, or when people are under stress or challenges, or looking for some sort of escapism, or to deal with some emotional trauma or whatever their triggers, you know, they have many things to turn to, be it alcohol, be it whatever. So in a lot of cases, it's cost. It's, you know, because it's so inexpensive and so accessible.
Do you think you're making a difference? And if so, how can you tell? And do you have any personal stories based on your work at Chrysalis House that are really especially meaningful for you?
Well, I'm sure that people have seen in the video outstanding examples of that success. Our current program director at Chrysalis House was a client. As she explained in the video, she came to us in shackles. And to be able to realize and understand your own capability and being motivated to have a desire to walk away from that life and start a new life, that's what drives women to succeed. And we do have amazing stories. I see it so often. Just to see a baby born healthy. As the former executive director said, if we have saved one child from a life of addiction, we've done our job.
And I think that that's, to follow up on your point, I think that that's the one thing that Chrysalis House does so well, and where we've made a difference, and what really sets us apart from many of the other organizations, is that we do include the children, and we focus on to try to stop this cycle, and to create strong parenting skills, their parenting skills, and to stop, to kind of stop the cycle. And I love that. And for me, the most exciting part of it is when you see, like yesterday, we had a woman come in, and she had her newborn baby, and it was just so powerful just to see the love and the hope that this woman had, that she was safe and her child was with her. Because in a lot of cases, these women have been without their children for quite some time. Either they've been put into foster care or with family or whatever. So the courage of these women to be able to not only deal with their addiction, to kind of reinvent or rebuild their lives, but also to have to learn to be with their children and parent again. Like, that's a lot all at one time. And it is true honor for me, and I'm sure Terry and everyone else on the board, to provide and be part of providing that environment for them.
We have a reunification program. So we work with agencies for women who have had to turn over their children to get their children back.
I'm sure that many of our viewers are going to want to get in touch with you about Chrysalis House. How can they reach you?
They can go to our website, www.chrysalishouses.org. It is plural. Or they can call the general phone line, 410-974-6829. On our website, too, they will find information about admissions. So I encourage you, yes, please visit our website. If you know someone who needs help, send them our way. We'll do the best we can for anyone needing help.
And we appreciate any support from the community in terms of our wish list or our funding.
Or volunteering. There's fun stuff you can do.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you for viewing our program today. And please join us again on Annapolis Mosaics. If you would like more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, please jot down the information on your screen. You can reach us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. Or check out our page at the City of Annapolis website. Go to www.annapolis.gov, click on City Government, then Boards and Commissions, and scroll down to the Human Relations Commission page. And always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We have flown the air like birds and swum the seas like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth as brothers and sisters."